Today I'm going to the largest bookstore in New England, a public library, and Barnes & Noble. But I'm not just browsing, I got 4 challenges I need to accomplish. Buy a book that's on my current TBR. Buy a book that I've never seen before, 100% judging a book by its cover. Buy a book that has 4.5 stars or higher on Goodreads that isn't in the fantasy or sci-fi genre. Buy a book for $1. And I'm giving myself a budget of $50, and for every dollar I save under 50, I can use those dollars to buy a little treat. So your boy's trying to save. So we're kicking things off at the public library. This could be huge if I found a book on my TBR here, but at very least we should be able to get a book for $1. Let's see though. And actually I'm gonna donate a couple books here because I'm not reading these anytime soon. That was crazy. That was crazy. I was going nuts internally. I mean, I didn't say any words because I was inside of a library and that's illegal, but wow, what a find. I completely went in there with the expectation of finding a $1 book. I called last night to make sure that you could buy books at the library, but I've never been to this library before. This is the Burlington, Massachusetts Public Library. I've bought books at the Arlington Public Library, and they had this whole room dedicated to books that you can buy for like $1 or $2. So I was expecting that, and it wasn't. It was just one little shelf. So I kind of panicked there. And I was like, oh man, am I gonna be able to find anything here? This is gonna really set me back if I can't find anything. What was even worse is that I discovered that the books weren't $1. I don't know why I just assumed every library has $1 books. No, these books were like $3, $5. So yeah, I was looking through the books. I didn't see anything on my TBR. My plan of finding $1 book was out the window. But I saw a couple names I recognized, one being Dean Koontz and the other being James Patterson. And the only reason I know those is because those are the only authors I've ever heard my dad reading. I feel like those are like dad authors. But so I completely pivoted my strategy and I started looking up the Goodreads ratings of those books. I figured Dean Koontz would have a high Goodreads ratings. Nope. Figured James Patterson would have a high Goodreads rating. Not really. And then I recognized this name, Kristen Hanna. And this book, by the way, is like brand new. So this name rang a bell because I have one of her books on my TBR, the Nightingale, the Nightingbird, that kind of popular one. One of my friends is reading it right now and she said she really loved it. It made her feel all the emotions and I just figured it would be a good book to read. So that's been on my TBR, and then I saw her name and I looked up The Woman. I've never heard of this book before. 4.61, 4.61, 1 million plus ratings. That's a freaking good book. 5 smackarooskies, that's all it costs too. So yeah, it wasn't a $1 book, it was a $5 book, but I absolutely checked the box of finding a book of 4.5 stars or higher on Goodreads, which I was absolutely not expecting to find here. I was maybe at the used bookstore, most likely at Barnes & Noble. And honestly, I didn't even really read the back of the book. All I read were these 5 words, which led me to just plucking it and bolting out the door, giddy with delight. The Woman is historical fiction. That's all I needed to hear. Let's cover the bases here. That's not fantasy, that's not sci-fi, that's a whole different genre, one that I don't think I've really read aside from Song of Achilles. I think counts as historical fiction. Anyway, let's read the summary here. Women can be heroes. When 22-year-old nursing student Frances Frankie McGrath hears those words, it is a revelation. Raised in the sun-drenched, idyllic world of Southern California and sheltered by her conservative parents, she has always prided herself on doing the right thing. But in 1965, the world is changing and she suddenly dares to imagine a different future for herself. When her brother ships out to serve in Vietnam, she joins the Army Nurse Corps and follows his path. As green and inexperienced as the men sent to Vietnam to fight, Frankie is overwhelmed by the chaos and destruction of war. Each day is a gamble of life and death, hope and betrayal. Friendships run deep and can be shattered in an instant. In war, she meets and becomes one of the lucky, the brave, the broken, the lost. But war is just the beginning for Frankie and her veteran friends. The real battle lies in coming home to a changed and divided America due to angry protesters and to a country that wants to forget Vietnam. The Woman is a story of one woman gone to war, but it shines the light on all women who put themselves in harm's way and whose sacrifice and commitment to their country has too often been forgotten. A novel about deep friendships and bold patriotism, The Woman is a richly drawn story with a memorable heroine whose idealism and courage under fire will come to define an era. I'll be the judge of that. No, I'm just kidding. It's good. It sounds really good. I am super pumped about this find, and unfortunately, I probably won't be reading The Nightingale anytime soon now because I'm gonna read The Woman. 4.5 plus. Check. Okay, and so now we're about to drive to the second stop here. Every place we're going today is within a few miles of each other because they're all in the same town. The world famous and renowned town of Burlington, Massachusetts. Bet you didn't expect to watch a bookstore tour video of Burlington, Massachusetts, but you're locked in now. Buckle up, we're going for a ride. All right, so we just arrived at the largest used bookstore in all of New England. And honestly, it's not as big as you think it would be. At least from the outside, it looks pretty unassuming. But I've been in there multiple times. I can attest it's a grower, not a shower, okay? Ugh, weird analogy to describe for a bookstore. Before I tell you a little bit more about this used bookstore, and before I saunter on in, I do realize that this could technically count as judging a book by its cover that I've never seen before. But I'm gonna use it for the 4.5 Goodreads rating and up because I didn't choose it for the cover specifically. Like when I'm talking about the cover, I wanna pick like a badass cover and just completely judge it on its cover. Like what you're not supposed to do. Because I'm trying to be like the bad boy booktube. Judge a book by its covers. I mean, what's he gonna do next? So this place opened in 2008 and I grew up right around here and I drove by this place countless times, not even realizing the treasures that lied within those stores. I was an idiot. I was a stupid idiot. And although it does look unassuming from the outside, it's over 13,000 square feet and has over 100,000 books. And here, prices start at 99 cents. So it looks like we can knock out at least one of these checklist items. All right, I'm back. I felt like I was just in there for an hour. I probably was. That was way harder than I thought to find a book for $1. They have this section that there's a bunch of books from like $2.99 to $3.99, $4.99. There's a bunch of like super famous books and super famous authors, but it was really hard to find one for just $1. I was starting to get worried that I was gonna have to buy a puzzle to check the box, but that didn't feel right, so I kept looking. And it's so weird, it's so like serendipitous that for some reason I was just thinking about Tom Sawyer like 3 days ago, and I see this cover just weaseled in the corner, 99 cents. Tom Sawyer. So I was thinking about this because I went to a thrift store with my fiance recently and they had a way cooler looking version of Tom Sawyer. But I wasn't doing a 4 challenge bookstore tour that day, so I didn't pick it up. But today I did. This feels like I could have printed this book. It's not the best quality, but whatever, it's Tom Sawyer nonetheless. It's the original, unabridged, and uncensored 1876 classic. I feel like that could be controversial. I don't know. Life was a lot different in 1876. This isn't hard to admit, but I'm gonna admit it anyway on the interwebs. I don't really know anything about Tom Sawyer. The only thing I know is Tom Sawyer, mean man. That's all I know. Mark Twain wrote it. I know that name. I know Twain's name. I don't really know anything he wrote. I never read anything by him. Mischief and mayhem around wherever the eponymous Tom Sawyer goes. From tricking his local peers into completing his household chores to cleverly acquiring a Sunday school prize to impress the father of his love interest, Tom Sawyer embodies the witty and lively spirits of young 19th century boys. Tom Sawyer truly embodies the phrase, boys will be boys. Oh, looks like it has a name in it. Kyle Bartkus. Hey, Kyle Bartkus. Mine now. Hopefully that's his handwriting from when he was a kid and not recently. Although that's kind of what my handwriting looks like nowadays. I never write anything. 211 pages. Not bad. I will read this one day. Its crease tile didn't really take care of this book as well as he should have, probably. Doesn't really feel like it was opened ever. I don't think he read it. So if this was school reading, Kyle Bartkus, I'm about to out you. Nonetheless, 99 cents. Check. Pretty pumped about that because that's a book I'll actually read instead of me having to do a Sudoku game. So that was my main mission here, was to find the $1 book. And it was way harder than I expected, but I did it. No big deal. Tom Sawyer. So then I was left with 2 challenges I've yet to do. One was judging a book completely on its cover, and the second being buying a book on my TBR. And I'm talking about my Goodreads. And honestly, I found out through this process that my TBR stinks. I don't put any book that I actually want to read on there. I kind of just have like a mental TBR. And for whatever reason, I felt like I had to go by the Goodreads TBR, the want to read. I was left with pretty few options considering some haven't been out yet. Some I already own and I just haven't read yet. So I put it on my want to read. And I was perusing around. My first inclination was to get Dungeon Crawler Carl, the 3rd book, because I've just recently finished the 2nd book. The last time I came here, I was searching for the 2nd book, and they only had the 1st, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. So this time I was like, okay, they have the 3rd one, that's fine. I'll just pick that up and check that box. I'm definitely gonna read it this year. And to my dismay, I got Dungeon Crawler Carl again. They had book 1, they had book 2, they had book 4, which is not a great combination when you're looking for book 3. And that really shook me to my core. So then I was looking for Razor Blade Tears by S.A. Crosby. Smitty, who's like my favorite booktuber, book talker, he recommended this book and it sounded really good. Couldn't find it. Couldn't find it. Honestly, I looked for like 15, 20 minutes. Couldn't find it. Then I was looking for Marcus Aurelius Meditations, even though I really don't feel like reading it. Couldn't find that one either. So then I went back to my tried and true fantasy section. The book I've been desperately looking for the last 2 months is the sequel to Rage of Dragons in the Burning series by Evan Winter. Apparently it was there once. I had someone come over and help me look for it and we couldn't find it. They allegedly had a copy. So ever since I've gone back and gone to the WI section looking for Winter, and I cannot find it. It's so frustrating. I want it so bad, but I want to find it at like a local bookstore, and I feel like getting it at Barnes & Noble or Amazon is a cop-out, so I'm not going to do that. This has just become a personal vendetta that I need to find it at this place. So then I was like, okay, maybe I will get Leviathan Wakes or Shadow of the Gods or The Fifth Season, which are all books on my TBR, but they're all book ones of trilogies. And starting a trilogy right now seems so daunting. And so I bought book one of a trilogy. Yeah, I bought The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin because I actually just filmed a video about female fantasy authors, and N.K. Jemisin was one of the ones that I want to read but haven't read yet. So I kind of felt like that was serendipitous. You know, I got the Tom Sawyer serendipity, a little bit of the Kristen Hanna serendipity because I had just spoken to my friend about the Nightingale. And now I literally just filmed a video like 4 days ago about female fantasy authors where I talked about N.K. Jemisin. Look at me now. Look at me now. I don't know much about this book. Let's read the, oh, me and N.K. chilling. That's a big picture. That's like the biggest author picture I've ever seen. Honestly, the reason I picked this book over Shadow of the Gods, even though I really want to read that book, is the margins and spacing. That's a solid ½ inch of margins, and that looks double spaced to me. And it's only 437 pages, which is pretty short for a fantasy book. So although it kind of looks like a chonk, it really isn't. And I read a few words and it seems like it's written super conversationally, and I'm really looking forward to reading it now. This is when you know a book is about to rule, is when it has maps. This is the way the world ends for the last time. It starts with the Great Red Rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal and long dormant wounds riding up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon and where there is no mercy. That didn't really tell me anything, but from what I understand, it's a really good book. And if you guys have read it, let me know in the comments. Maybe give me like a high level spoiler-free review or summary. Book of my TBR. Check. So this costs $15.18. This was the cheapest of those trilogy books that I mentioned. And this one costs 99 cents. This one's in perfect condition, by the way. So let's do the math. What have I spent so far? $5. 99 cents. So it's $5.99. $15.18. Now I gotta do some math. Ooh, so that'd be $6.17 plus 15. $21.17 I have spent on a $50 budget. I am chilling right now. So my next stop is Barnes & Noble, where I only have one challenge left, and that is to judge a book on its cover. I feel like there's no better way to do it than in Barnes & Noble. They like literally present the covers to you when you walk in. So yeah, let's complete this mission, and I'm hoping I can get a book for like 20 bucks, so then I can take you guys to one of my favorite places to eat and get a nice little sweet treat. All right, we're here at our last stop. Barnes & Noble's originally was founded in like 1872 or something. But the first Barnes & Noble Superstore, like the ones we know today, started in 1992. Now, Mrs. Barnes and Mr. Noble have like 700 stores globally. But this Burlington, Massachusetts location is super popular around the North Shore of Boston because it's located right across the mall and Buffalo Wild Wings. You know what they say, location, location, location. All right, so I was just in there for way too long too, about 40 minutes. I was hoping something would jump out at me. I mean, that was the whole point of it. It's like judging a book by its cover. But honestly, I found that like a lot of the genres, the covers just look the same, unless they use like a really bright pink or yellow or something. But yeah, that took me so long because I was really trying not to buy a book that was the first book in a trilogy, which is very hard when you're in the fantasy and sci-fi section. But I also didn't want to buy a book that I wasn't gonna read soon. Like whatever I bought, I want to read in the next year. I didn't want to just buy a book to do the check off the list. I wanted to get something I'm actually gonna read, something that I've legitimately never heard of or seen before. I was really close to just picking up a Robin Hobb book because I want to read something by her. I was really close to just being like, oh, Jade War, that cover's pretty sick, I should just pick that up. I was super, super, super close to picking up the sequel to Rage of Dragons that I've never seen in person before. I finally saw it, and I was literally this close to plucking it. It just didn't feel right. It felt like a cop-out. It felt like a cheat code. Although I want to read it so bad, and I would read that within the next few months, I didn't buy it. I still want to find it at a local bookstore, not Barnes & Noble. Although there was only one left here. There was only one left, so it felt like I would have earned that. I didn't buy it. So yeah, I spent way too long in there, desperately trying to find a standalone book that I was actually interested in that had a good Goodreads rating, because a lot of the ones I found, if the cover like actually attracted me, it always had a 3.5 or less. Yeah, I was getting pretty frustrated actually. For whatever reason, this book caught my eye. It was on the bottom shelf. It's called The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. And honestly, I didn't even really read what it's about. I just saw it includes an introduction by Patrick Rothfuss, who I know is a pretty famous fantasy author. And then on the back it says, Peter S. Beagle illuminates with his own particular magic by Ursula K. Le Guin, which I've just recently learned that she's a prominent fantasy author as well. So 2 prominent fantasy authors talking about this book that is pretty short, 280 something pages. Look at those margins. Love those margins. Love that spacing. I was looking at this Lord of the Rings book. I don't know about you guys, but I hate this font. It's too smushed together. The words are too close. Spacing is too close. It's like hard to read. It looks old to me. I'm not a fan of that kind of font. I'm a fan of this font. It's more spaced out. It's more pleasing to the eye, and I can read it easier. So I don't know if anyone has a Lord of the Rings copy that doesn't have that font, let me know, because eventually I do want to read that. So The Last Unicorn, let's read the back. Experience one of the most enduring classics of the 20th century and the book that The Atlantic has called one of the best fantasy novels ever. Let's go. I literally don't know anything about this book. The unicorn lived in a lilac wood and she lived all alone. So she ventured out from the safety of the enchanted forest on a quest for others of her kind, joined along the way by the bumbling magician Schmendrick. That's fun to say, Schmendrick. In the indomitable Molly Grew, the unicorn learns all about the joys and sorrows of life and love before meeting her destiny of the castle of a despondent monarch and confronting the creature that would drive her kind to extinction. In The Last Unicorn, renowned and beloved novelist Peter S. Beagle spins a poignant tale of love, loss, and wonder that has resonated with millions of readers around the world. Sick! Yeah, and the cover's pretty sweet too. It wasn't just like this, like I was like... It was like the first time I saw my fiance. Snap my neck with that look back with The Last Unicorn. So yeah, don't know what it's about, but apparently it's pretty famous. I just quickly looked at the Goodreads rating and it had a good one. I saw it had a decent amount of reviews too, but I didn't know it was like this popular. Again, I was really frustrated. I was like quickly looking. So I am pretty stoked about this. Yeah, 280 something pages. I might read this soon. This might be the best get of all. This was $20. So not including tax, because I'm not trying to get too in the weeds here. $20, $15.18. That makes $35.18. 99 cents. That makes $36.17, I believe. $5. That makes $41.17 if my math is mathing. That means your boy has about $8.23 to go buy a sweet ass treat. And you bet you bought $1. You bought him $8.23 that I'm gonna buy it. All right, change of plans. I didn't get a sweet treat because I was starving and this was only $7. Favorite gluten-free bakery right here in Burlington. Had to pivot from sweet to savory. And this doesn't count, but I got my fiance something that I might try too. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you liked it. I'm just gonna be here eating this.